Hello everyone, good morning. If you're watching this on YouTube later, it might not be morning, but I hope you did have a good morning anyway. Alright, so yeah, I don't know how I feel about what happened in the last time out. So we got eliminated. We had an awesome season, but we just couldn't pull through in the playoffs. And the Habs won the cup. That's shameful. But anyway, so today we're gonna go ahead and do off-season stuff, pre-season stuff. That's my goal. We'll see where we're at after all of that. Keep in mind a couple things that need to be said, and that's things that I have touched on at different points in different videos / streams of mine. Back in the 80s, waivers were not waivers, sorry, free agents. That wasn't exactly as prominent as it is nowadays. Teams had the tendency to hold on to their players a whole lot more. Of course, there was no salary cap or anything like that, so it was pretty rare to see like interesting free agents hit the market. It would happen, but you wouldn't get it wouldn't get to the point like we see nowadays. So I am not really expecting to be replenishing the team through free agency. So that leaves the trade market, the waiver wire, and the draft. So I guess we're gonna have to make do with that. So yeah, don't expect for me to be able to assign a guy like Borg or anything like that. That's probably not gonna happen. So don't expect like, oh, ARG is gonna like sign all of those incredible free agents. Yeah, there's probably not gonna be any to sign. But anyway, so let's get going with the off-season here. We're gonna try to wash away the stink of our last season ended. We did lose in the playoffs to a good team. The Oilers do have a good team, especially after. That's the craziest thing to me. They made that trade for Andy Moog to bring him back, and then they started Ranford in the playoffs. So it is what it is, I suppose. Oh, there's news here. Alright, so John Brophy finished as the Toronto coach. Alright, so Toronto went 29, 44, and 7. They did make the playoffs with that record, which is crazy to me, but that was a different era. Alright, so Craig Patrick is going to be the coach now in Toronto. Mike Keenan fired as the coach of the Blackhawks. Blackhawks won their division. They were 39, 35, and 6, and that was still not good enough for the Blackhawks. He's replaced by John Ferguson. And then Ted Sater was fired as the coach for the Buffalo Sabres. They were 34, 37, and 9. So he's going to be replaced by Mike Keenan, the cat who has 9 lives, Mike Keenan. Right, and Chicago is trying to make a trade with Mel Bridgman. And that's not going to happen with me. Just gonna double check one more thing just to make sure. Alright, so I'm just making sure that I don't have anybody that I need to keep that needs a contract. Alright, let's continue to advance. Not a whole lot going on in the world of hockey right now. Well, I'm not talking about real life. Oh. So Keith Brown is being shot by the Blackhawks. Trade speculation surrounds Dwayne Sutter. So the Blackhawks are very active on the trade rumor front. Could Grant Ledyard be traded? I could trade for him. He's not. Grant Ledyard was never like a superstar or anything like that, but you know, he played for a good number of years in the league. Shit, he played until he was 40. That's pretty good. So, yeah. So I could maybe make a trade for Grant Ledyard. Should I? Let's see. Gonna try to trade my players that are on the trading block and see if we can make it happen. Since I'm gonna be losing them anyway, might as well. So, like, lay law. Yeah, they're not too interested with just him. What if I add Paul Fenton? Oops. Yeah, they don't. They really don't want to. Dean Kennedy. Yeah, they just don't want anything to do with my guys. Let's see. If I start with Paul Fenton, no. Yeah, that's not gonna work. I would have to put draft picks in there for Grant Ledyard, and I'm not gonna put draft picks for Grant Ledyard. Miroslav Freiser might be moving from Detroit. Alright, and they are also trying to move Doug Alward. I love when, you know, my team is rumored as being one of the teams that's going to go for the player that I have absolutely no desire to go after. But, I mean, that's what rumors are, right? They are not always true. Alright, so Vancouver is trying to move Rick Lance. From my random debut with JT Dutch, I have learned that I am not going to go for Rick Lance, because when we went for him, it didn't go all that way. Wait. It wasn't in the random debut, it was with our Quebec Nordics challenge that we tried, where we ended up tied with the Canadiens, and it was considered a failed challenge. That was fun. Randy Gregg may be leaving Edmonton. Oh, let's see how we did. I wasn't the manager of the year. That's kind of sad. How many points did I get? 29 points. Alright, so we get to spend some of them. Alright, the June scouting update, don't care. Calgary reportedly shopping Rick Wamsley. Ron Flockhart in St. Louis is on the block. On the chopping block. Chop, chop, chop. Not the chopping block. Nobody's trying to kill players here. Alright, so we are about to get to July 1st. Which means that it's going to open up free agency. When is the draft? Wait, we're not doing the draft? Or is it just not shown as an event? That seems weird to me. I guess we'll see. The draft should be like right. Ah, there it is. Okay, on the 3rd. Perfect. Alright, so we're gonna have a lot of news to go through here. So usually I used to do that offline, but now that I am live, you get to see me go through all of that. Alright, so the jerseys we sold the most in June: Gretzky, Robitaille, Gartner, Ridley, and Melanson. Alright, and you know, yet again, Brian Hayward sold more jerseys than Wayne Gretzky. Really? Alright, is Pittsburgh looking to move Jim Johnson? Okay. Tom Laidlaw trade rumor. Well, I mean, it's not going to be a trade rumor. He's a free agent. Anybody can sign him now. Alright, so the 1990 NHL Entry Draft is evaluation. That makes me sad. I cannot have Nick Lidstrom on my team. I can never have Nick Lidstrom on my team. Usually when I start, he's already in the game and he's too good. Detroit will never move him. Now, he might go to a different team, but I still can't go for him. Rob Blake might be good, but I don't think he's going to be available by the time I pick. So we're going to have to see. There's quite a few players that I can go for. It all depends on who's going to be available at my rank. But yeah, I would love... Man, Nick Lidstrom was my favorite player in the entire history of the NHL. And I would love to be able to have him on the team, but I can't. So there you go. Alright, so now we're gonna have a whole bunch of news about teams getting new TV contracts. So Montreal signed a 1-year contract, Toronto 3 years, Boston 1 year, Chicago 1 year, Detroit 2 years, Rangers 1 year, Kings 2 years. Now our board confidence update. I think Bruce McNall is on crank. Bruce McNall says that the objective for the season is to rebuild. Like, seriously, man, you want to rebuild with Wayne Gretzky? Mike Gartner, Ray Shepherd, Luc Robitaille, really? That's what you want to do? Yeah. Well, he does live in LA, right? So I guess hard drugs are prominent over there. So he might have been dipping into the sauce a little too much. Alright, North Stars signed a 2-year deal for their broadcast. Flyers, 5 years for theirs. Pittsburgh, 2 years. Blues, 5 years. Sabres, 1 year. Flames, 2 years. Yeah, I don't think anybody cares about that. I'm just going through it as fast as I can. Islanders, 4 years. Devils, 2 years. Washington, 4 years. Edmonton, 5 years. Waiters, 3 years. Nordics, 1 year. And then Jets for 3 years. Alain Côté has retired, so he won't be in the game anymore. Alain Côté's goal was good, by the way. It was a good goal. Fuck you, Carey Fraser. Marcel Dion calls it a career. So he's retiring, and the Kings, we are going to retire Marcel Dion's number 16. Alright, so Doug Alward is retiring. The Red Wings were trying to shop him just a second ago. Craig Artsberg is going to retire from the NHL at age 30 from the North Stars, and he doesn't know that at the time, but eventually he's going to become a head coach in the NHL. He's going to be coaching the Sens for a very short stint. Denis Marouk is also going to retire as part of the North Stars, 33 years old. Tom McCarthy is going to retire from Montreal, 28 years old. Lanny McDonald is retiring at 36. Jack O'Callaghan is going to retire from the Devils, 31 years old. Billy Smith, 38, retires from the NHL as well. And now, not a whole lot of changes. The only thing that changes is a bunch of new players are entering the league. Man, I can't get Keith Tkachuk either. Man, there's a lot of players that I can't get. I don't like this anymore. Just joking. I am not going to deviate from the plan. I will stick to it. There's plenty of decent players that I like somewhat to get, like Ray Shepherd and Mike Gartner and Wayne Gretzky and Luc Robitaille, so it's not too terrible. Alright. So here's the fun part. We are going to need to find a few free agents. So I can go ahead and send Mark Fitzpatrick down just to give me a better idea of what I have. Oops. Alright, so I am expecting to have those guys playing for me. So I have two goaltenders. So I need a defenseman for sure. Up front, I'd like to get a center. So yeah, a defenseman and a center, two very prime positions. That's not going to be easy. So let's go ahead and take a look. Oh dear God, Ray Bork made it as and Gary Suter, they both made it as free agents. Oh wait, are they restricted free agents? Let's see here. Ready? Everything disappeared. AFJ, no. No, he did not. He bounced between second, third, and fourth line all season. So that has not happened. Well, I'm not more stupid than the next guy. I'm going to go after both of them if I can. Oops. Alright, let's give him more money than that. Let's give him more money than Gretzky. That ought to be a good selling point. Hey, come play for us. You're gonna make more money than Wayne Gretzky. Why can't I submit my offer? Is it because of the... Yeah, that's because... okay, I have to do it from here. Okay. Oh, wait. Damn it. It shouldn't be that complicated. The submit offer button should be able to recognize if it's going to be an RFA signing or not. Alright, ask for response, then... Oh dear God. Can I live without my first and third round pick for Ray Borg? I think so. That means I can't really go after Gary Suter. Let's see. No, it's the same. Hey, watch your mouth. The greatest defenseman of all time was Stephen Finn. I mean, Nick Lidstrom. But yeah, Borg was an incredible defenseman, of course. Okay, so I cannot make an offer for both. So I went for Ray Borg. Now the thing is that everybody's... Hey, Redden was not too bad as a defenseman for the Sens. His career just derailed once he got in the Big Apple. Look at that. Everybody's a restricted free agent. Alright. Wow, there's not a whole lot to help me at center there. Things are sad when you cannot even make a contract offer to Steve Tambellini. Man, I wish I could get Ray Borg and Gary Suter. God, I have like a zit thing going here. It hurts. I don't like it. Man, that's the only offer I'm going to be able to make since everybody's done bigs. That's the only offer I can make since they're all considered restricted free agents. That doesn't sound right. I'm just not, you know, when I was a kid, like free agency in those years is not something that I was paying a whole lot of attention to, so I'm not super familiar with what the rules were back then. But yeah. Alright, well, I made my offer. I guess we'll see. Oh. There you go. Let's see what happens. Man, I don't like giving up draft picks, but Ray Borg. Oh, there's been some trades. Ten-year control period. Still, like Borje Salming shouldn't be a restricted free agent. He's fucking ancient. He's like 37. Alright, so Ray Borg. He's thinking about it. Alright, so there's been a trade. Rick Lanz is going to Pittsburgh for Ville Siren. Alright. And the Oilers and the Nordics made a trade. Randy Gregg and the rights to Alan May go to the Quebec Nordiques for Paul McDermott and Kay Whitmore. Wait, isn't that the two guys that the Nordics got in a trade with Hartford like earlier. I think it is. It sure as hell is. Wow. So the Nordic, I don't remember who they traded. I just remember that they had lost that trade, and they got they traded Kerry Hoffman, I think, and no, Randy Mahler and somebody else. And they got Paul McDermott and Kay Whitmore from Hartford, and now they're flipping the exact same two players for Randy Gregg and the rights to Alan May. No, but I don't think he was 27 either. There's a easy way to figure it out, so we can just go and check. Yeah, he entered at 22. You know, I can't sign him anyway, but yeah. All right. Oh, it's about to be the entry draft. So the picks that I'm giving up, if I do sign Borg, are not for this year. It's for next year. So I still have a shot at Adam Foote, maybe. I don't know who's gonna be available. Oh my god, I have the last pick because I finished first in the league. That's a little scary. Alright, well, let's see who we can get. Alright, so that's the part that I like to do the first round, you know, one by one. Alright. Mike Modano was picked by the Vancouver Canucks. Wow, Mike Modano is going to be a Canuck. Nick Lidstrom goes to the Quebec Nordiques. Oh, my favorite team as a kid picked up my favorite player. Wow. Can I move to be in charge of the Nordiques now? Screw this challenge. I just want to have Nick Lidstrom. I picked third overall. Matt Sundin is going to the St. Louis Blues. Then we have John Leclerc going to the New York Islanders. Teemu Selanne is going with the Devils. Rob Blake, Toronto Maple Leafs. Doug Waite goes with the Bruins. Craig Conroy goes with the Minnesota North Stars. Olaf Kolzig ends up in Buffalo. Bill Guerin is always with me in every single year I'm gonna need to trade for him. He's going to the Jets. Ted Donato goes to the Red Wings. Adam Foote was taken. He's going to the Blackhawks. Byron Dafoe goes to the Hartford Whalers. Steve Ruchin goes to the Rangers. That's another one I could have taken. Mike Ceninger goes to the Flames. Chris Draper goes with the Oilers. Stu Barnes ends up in Philadelphia. Yes, he is. Ted Donato is Ryan Donato's dad. Yes, I'm at that. So you're still fairly young. I'm at that age where I've seen the dad and the kid play. So, yeah. It's going to happen to you one day as well. Then you're going to be like, what the fuck? What the hell? Alright. Yannick Perreault goes to the Montreal Canadiens. Oh, the Canadiens picked up Yannick Perreault. He played there in his career, but he didn't start there. Greg Johnson goes with the Washington Capitals. Trent Klatt goes with the Penguins. Oh, it's my turn. I have a few interesting picks. I would love to get Sean McEachern. He played for the Sens in real life, and I kind of liked him. But I cannot. I cannot get Stefan Matteau. I cannot get Dallas Drake. I can get Andrew Castles. I can get Rob Zamuner, and I can get Yves Racine. And I think I'm gonna go with Andrew Castles. I do need a center. I don't know that he's gonna play this year, but I do need a center, so that makes sense to me. And he should become better than Rob Zamuner or Yves Racine will. So well, do you play real hockey? Or are you like me and you're just a fan who cannot skate? Right, Andrew Castles it is. So the LA Kings in the first round pick Andrew Castles. Pretty solid pick, I think, to get him in the first round like that. I think that's pretty good. Andrew Castles is going to be with the Kings. Well, maybe you should have pushed further, although I know that there's not a whole lot of Norwegian hockey players in the NHL, but you could have become one. What position do you play? Or what position would you like to play if you were to play? Alright, I'm gonna just click pick until human. I don't really care, I guess, at this point. Well, do I? Maybe I do. I don't. Let's see what's left. Oh, Stefan Matteau is still available. I can't pick him up. I could pick Dwayne Roloson. That's pretty much the only one I can pick. Or I could pick Alex. I think I'm going to go for Roloson. I feel like that's a decent pick, but he's going to take a while to develop, too. Cool. Stefan Matteau is still on the board. A winger, huh? Well, I'm more of a defenseman myself. Yeah, Dwayne Roloson was not a bad goaltender, but he just took forever to develop, and I know that, you know, since Recalc is on in the challenges, it's pretty much going to follow that as well. So, alright, pick until human again. Alright. Okay, I cannot pick any of those guys except for Alex X. I'll go for Alex X, that's fine. As a third round draft pick, I know he's not going to become all that great, but I might be able to squeeze him in a trade or something. Alright. No, I cannot get any of those guys. Now I have to look. Oh, Yannick Cannon. I always liked him. I can't get him. Darren Rumble, I could pick. I could get Jeff Smith as well. Oh, Jeff Smith is already ready to play in the NHL. Yeah, I'm not going for Blair Etchingham. Jason York. Okay. Yeah, it's yeah, I think I'm gonna go with Darren Rumble too. Darren Rumble should be able to develop enough to play on my third pair. That's a very interesting challenge you gave me. I like it. get Darren Rumble for this pick. So I like it. Thank you for giving me that challenge. Definitely makes me go off the board or on certain things that I do, like losing a trade to the Islanders so I can get Gerald Deduck on my team and Randy Wood. Alright, pick until human again. Man, nobody wants those guys. I'd take Patrick Schellberg or Claude Lapointe. I just cannot draft them. Oh, Smith is still available. I think I might get him. Let's get Jeff Smith. So is FJ like your real initials for your real name? Okay, so let's see. Is your last name like something like Johansson or something? Johannesson? Something like that? Hey, you have to start somewhere. All right. Johannesburg or something like that. Man, I don't have great knowledge of the Norwegian culture. Oh, I could pick Blair Etchenham, but I know that he's gonna not be good. Pierre Gustafsson should be able to play. Oh, Damian Rhodes should also be able to play. Johnson? Joshi, is that it? I'm not funny. Alright, I should stop right there. Man, it's hard finding somebody. Is that Curtis Brown? No, Cam Brown. Stéphane Morin. Alright, so maybe Damian Rose, who is or Per Gustafsson, maybe. He plays for the Caps right now, or are you talking like about Calle Johansson? Oh, Jensen, Nick Jensen. Okay. What do you think, FJ? Should I go with, or should I call you Mr. Jensen now? Should I go with Damian Rose or Per Gustafsson? Gustafsson it is. It has been decided. All right. could pick Mark Astley. Not gonna happen, but I could. François Gravel, I don't think so. Ian Fraser. I don't think he did. I can't remember him. Oh god, I could get Garth Snow. I won't. I could. I don't think Gravel played in the NHL. We can check. Yeah, he didn't. Which means that his development is going to be kind of random. Hey, you know what? I think I'm gonna get him. Let's. That gives us somebody from a random country to cheer for. I really don't know who else I would go after. I really don't want to draft Mark Astley. So let's cheer for the random French goaltender. I'm picking François Gravel. There you go. And now I can pick Mark Astley if I want to. There you go. Mark Astley, come play for the Kings. Then I guess I can get Ken Gernander. Did he play in the NHL? Oh, he did. Wow, he had 2 stints with the Rangers, 8 years apart. That would be great if he were, but I'm not sure he's going to become George Vizina. I think I'm going to have to pick Gernander and Ope. I mean, it doesn't hurt. You can always stick some of those guys in a trade. I'm a terrible GM. Imagine I'm like, yeah, I'm drafting you. I'm proud to select you to be a part of the Kings so that I can pad my trade for a player that I actually want. Welcome aboard. Well, I could get this guy here, Andy Rimshaw. Hey, he played 6 games for the Nordics in real life. I'll pick him. I don't know, man. Sometimes, you know, there's no room. Sometimes there's just no room for a player. Oh, we're done. We're done picking players. Alright, let's get out of here and see if Ray Borg comes to play with the Kings. So I'm pretty happy with my first round draft pick. I'm pretty happy with Andrew Castles. Not too disappointed with getting Dwayne Roloson either. So I thought it would be a lot worse, to be honest with you. So, especially when I saw that we were picking last. Going first overall to the Vancouver Canucks was Mike Modano. The Nordics choosing second selected Nick Lidstrom, and the third overall pick was Matt Sundin, who went to the Blues. Alright. Come on, Borg. Come play for the Kings. You know you want to. Oh, there's been a trade. The Waiters made a trade with the Blackhawks' Marc Bergeron. Yeah, the Lebeau brothers. That was a story and everything in Quebec, of course. So Marc Bergeron and the rights to Christian Kunast go to the Whalers for Sean McKenna and Alan Tsui. Wow, that's one heck of a last name. So that exact spelling of the last name for Alan Tour is pronounced Tsui in French, and that's the infinitive verb for killing. Oh boy. See, watch ARG's streams, you're gonna learn French and stuff. It is the Bergeron. It is the Marc Bergeron that is the GM of the Montreal Canadiens right now. He was a defenseman in the NHL. One of his biggest highlight in his career is actually when he scored in his own net when he was playing for Tampa Bay, but I'm sure you knew about that one already. Bergeron was a stay-at-home defenseman. He was never a very big offensive threat. Oh no! The Bruins have tied the offer. I should have offered more. So Borg stays in Boston and Gary Suter stays in Calgary. Well, we're still short a D-man. Oh, I could try to sign Grant Jennings. I mean, he's not going to be very good. Wow, the compensation is the same regardless. I should have just offered the moon to Ray Borg. I'm not offering the first and a third for that. Well, let's see here. I do have some... Oh, I have Steve Richmond that can play. Oh, dear God. When I say can play, I'm using the term very loosely here. I guess I'm going to need to recall Richie Don. We're in trouble. I believe Gary Suter is Ryan Suter's uncle, if I remember correctly. Alright, so I might need to trade Mark Fitzpatrick for some help on the... Up front, I have some options, but yeah, on D, like, Richmond regressed, so that's definitely not good. And right now on my team, I really just have, like, the bare minimum, so I need to call up, like, let's see. I'm gonna sign some of those guys. Everybody that's 20 gets a contract. Alright. There you go. You get a contract. Nobody likes to be a fringe prospect. I'm sure they haven't fixed it in this game either. Oh, Future superstar François Gravel is getting a contract. Yeah. Hey, Mike Ceninger did play for the Sirens. I think Montreal is one of the only teams he never played for. Mike Ceninger, yeah, he was traded at the trade deadline like almost every season because he was like the perfect prototypical third line center that would win his faceoffs and was responsible defensively. Alright. Yeah. All don't like to be called a fringe prospect, so alright, so that's gonna give me a little bit more talent in the team. Not great talent, but talent. I just need bodies. Yeah, he was. Mike Ceninger was a very good player, but part of why he scored 500 points is that he played in Detroit in the 90s, and they were pretty good, and he had a very long career. So, but he was a solid player. Just a guy that was traded all the time because he was a responsible defensive forward. Jennings, we decided we were not going from. All right, so you're thinking about it, 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 and Rick Wemsley trade rumors are flying. All right, come on, guys, you can sign your contracts now. All right, Darren Rumble is the first one to sign. Of course, he's not really ready to play now, so he will go down. What about you? Yeah, you're not good enough to play in the NHL. Darren Rumble needs to play in the minors. Yeah, Ceninger was a decent player because he was a defensive, responsible forward. Doesn't mean that he couldn't score. I mean, look at Patrice Bergeron. Of course, Ceninger wasn't at the level of Bergeron, but I didn't mean that as a guy that would score 5 points a year. That wasn't how I meant it. Yeah. Mark Astley signs a new deal. That's good. Alright, so Jeff Smith, there's news around Jeff Smith signing, so... Right, so you need to go in the minors. And I'm gonna recall all of those guys back up, because that's what I do. Okay, what about you? Yes, you can play now, that's all I ask. Cool, Jeff Smith, you're ready. And we're gonna keep Richie Dunn as a 7th defenseman for now. So, alright, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Alright, so we have our 6. I think I should, but it hasn't really come up yet. That's something I ask myself as well. What do you think? You're the one who gave me the challenge, so what's your take on it? Oh, wow. Gravel is already a star and a half here. Alright, and I need to recall 2 forwards. And that's going to be easy. That's going to be Bob Kudelski and Ron Duguay. Alright. Why do you hate me so much? I am not picking up Marc-Antoine Pouliot as soon as he shows up. Yeah, too bad the challenge is not going to go all the way to Marc-Andre Fleury. Alright, so I think I've done what I could. I should have offered the moon to Ray Borg. I just didn't realize that the compensation was the same regardless of the salary offered. Things were different back then. Lesson learned. There's always next off season. Unless I win the cup this year, of course. My D is a little shaky, so I would not put any money on that, but we never know. Alright. I know that Pouliot was a first-round draft pick, so was Doug Wickenheiser. And Alexander Daigle was a first-round draft... Hell, Alexander Daigle was a first overall pick. And so was Nhl Yakupov. Alright, so... Ron Flockhart and the rights to Doug Friedman go to Buffalo for Mark Napier and Darcy Wakalok. Not a great... Oh, I should... Here's what I should do. I should come here and look... Alright, so you are probably going to get a contract by default. Yeah, alright, so I'm putting you on... the trading block. Deduck is coming back. Marty McSorley, I cannot keep you. I'm putting you on the trade block and see if I get interesting offers for somebody that wants a face puncher. John Miner gonna need to move as well. Arneil, Chris Contos, I cannot keep you. I want to. I cannot. Putting you on the trade block. Mike Krushelinski, we're going to need to part ways with Mike Krushelinski. That's sad, but... Oh, man, you're asking the question there. Would you rather have played hockey for the Nordics or baseball for the Expos? You know what? I'm going to have to go with baseball for the Expos. Probably because I can't skate or anything like that. But I was actually an okay pitcher in the minor leagues. So I... So I was too young to be able to pitch a true knuckleball. Even if a knuckleball is a really slow pitch by nature, you still need to have enough strength to pitch it properly so it doesn't break enough when you're too young. But I had like that fascination for the knuckleball ever since I heard about it. You know, I'm not called Adequate Random Gaming for no reason. Like, I love random things and I love the randomness of the knuckleball, so I think I would have preferred probably to be a knuckleball pitcher for the Expos over being defenseman for the Nordics. Plus the Nordics moved to Colorado like in 95 and something like that, and my English wasn't good enough to be doing that back then. So right, Randy Wood is gonna come back. Randy Busick, yeah, I don't think I'm gonna bring him back. I picked him up as a waiver. Yeah, I guess. So what position would you play in baseball then? I was a pitcher through and through. I was not a great hitter or anything like that. Right, Jim Fox is going to be put on the trade block as well. And so is Bob Kudelski. Shit, yeah, playing in the 70s for the Montreal Canadiens. While you're small, you probably would have had a hard time against the Flyers of the 70s. Montreal was maybe the most superior team, but the Flyers would have crushed you into the boards. You would have need Larry Robinson to come and save your butt. Alright, so I took care of all of that, so now we get to advance here. Would Marty McSorley be traded? Maybe. I've put him on the trading block. Oh yeah, we had that discussion before. That's true, you would put yourself in left field. I remember now, I did ask you that. Yeah, usually left field or first base. But usually the first baseman is expected to have some power in his bat. Although some great contact hitters were first baseman as well, but usually. I'm sure you would. Like Theo Fleury. Theo Fleury was feisty and short. So we're looking to trade Mike Krushalinski. Yes, we are. I'm in no hurry, though. Right, so just going through the off-season. Not a whole lot going on. Man, I could have had Ray Borg on my team. Ray Borg. Imagine Ray Borg playing with Wayne Gretzky. Yeah, we're looking to move Jim Fox as well. I think I'm gonna cheat on the names, and I'm gonna get Stephen Finn just to give JT Dutch fits, because he has expressed at least a few times to me how much he did not like to have Stephen Finn on the Kings. I didn't like to have him on the Nordics either, so I can relate. Oh, we already have a trade proposal from the New Jersey Devils. Alright, so July scouting update. I don't really care. Now the Devils are offering me Corey Foster for Randy Busick. I cannot accept, because Corey Foster does not fit my, so I'm gonna have to reject. That's the type of trade that I would have done otherwise. Probably Corey Foster has, you know, a 1-star potential, so I would have at least considered it, but I cannot. Alright, we continue. Alright, the top selling jerseys for July for the Kings: Wayne Gretzky, Mike Gartner, Luke Robitaille, Glenn Healy, and Marty McSorley. Alright. And The most sold jerseys for July in the NHL, we have nobody in there as the Kings, and I'm looking for Brian Hayward. He's probably in there somewhere. I don't see him. I'll be damned. Brian Hayward didn't sell more jerseys than, you know, Mark Messier. Wow. Oh, yeah, I'm not gonna add to my challenge right now. Martin St. Pierre. Oh boy. Yeah. St. Pierre played a few games for the Sens, right? I'm guessing that since you're throwing that name out there, that you're looking at his profile. I remember him playing for the Sens for a very short amount of time. Oh, Hall of Fame induction. Brad Park got in, I voted for him. Pete Maravlich got in, I voted for him. Doug Mons got in, I didn't vote for him. Tony Esposito got in. I don't remember if I voted for him. I don't think I did. I think I voted for Park, Maravlich, Sittler, and Barber, I think. Or maybe Steve Schott. I believe Martin St. Pierre played a couple games for the Sens. I seem to remember it. I could be wrong, though. I have a pretty good memory, but, you know, it has its limits, especially for players that played just a few games with the team. Alright, so we know all of those. We just saw that they got in, so I'm going to skip those news. Alright. Alright, so the coach is telling me who's adjusting. He didn't do that at all last year. I didn't have a good relationship with my coach. He actually did not talk to me at all season. I feel slightly hurt by that. I'm a fairly personable person. Oh, Mike McPhee has been put on the trade block. I can't go for him anyway, but that's still interesting. Alright, we're in August, 45 days away from the next preseason game. Now, hopefully I can get somebody on the in the waiver draft that's gonna help. Probably you would be looking at guys that started when they were pretty old, or that like they had a career-ending injury really early in their career or something like that. I mean, 250 NHL games is really low. I think that for the challenge to be doable, we would have to start a regular historical game with where we don't have recalc, because if you have recalc, it's gonna be a nightmare. You would need to have the engine to develop the players so that you can get some surprises. Yeah, Billy Lindbergh, yeah, well, we all know what happened to him. So. Alright, so there was a trade rumor about Lee Norwood, and then he was traded. Alright, so the Red Wings are sending Lee Norwood and Igor Liba to the Rangers for Tony Horacek and the rights to Steve Ruchet. Wow. I think the Red Wings passed a quick one to the Rangers there. Norwood is going to decline pretty soon, and he's not going to be very effective anymore. And then Steve Ruchet should develop into at least a second-line center for the Red Wings. Wow. I wish somebody was to offer me something similar to that. You know what? If I manage to win the challenge here pretty quickly, I'll consider doing the challenge you brought up afterwards. But like I said, I would have to start a regular historical game and put recalc off, or else it's gonna be impossible. Lee Norwood was an okay defenseman, but he wasn't a superstar or anything, and you know, in 2 years he's gonna be probably an alpha star defenseman, so yeah. Alright, let's move forward. Oh, there's a trade rumor for Rick Vive. He's only a one-star player anymore. Rick Vive had an interesting career, but it declined pretty fast. Like, yeah, we're pretty much, he had a regain in 88, 89. And I remember Rick Vive playing for the Buffalo Sabres. I don't really remember the Rick Vive of the Toronto Maple Leafs era. That was when I was just a kid. I mean, I was born when he was 19, so. But yeah, I'm not gonna go out of my way to get him. August is going through pretty fast. Well, maybe not that fast, but as fast as I can. Not a whole lot going on. You know what? I'm going to save my game. I'm a little paranoid with what happened last time when I was playing out of the park baseball. Alright, so Washington is looking at trading Gilamel. Let's save so I don't have to redo all of that, just in case. Alright, August is almost over. I don't care about your scouting assessments. I only trust myself. Alright, so Gretzky, Gartner, Robitaille, Ely, McSorley sold the most jerseys. Alright. And Vancouver signed their first round draft pick. Mike Modano is now a Vancouver Canuck. So we're entering September. We're getting closer to the preseason. Ray Neufeld has been put on the trade block yet again. I didn't go for him the first 5 times they did that. I am not going to do it this time either. And then right before the preseason starts, I'm going to look at what's on the trading block and see if I can find a gem there. I still cannot believe I missed the opportunity to get Ray Borg on the team. Shit, Ray Borg playing with Gretzky probably would have almost 200 points. James Patrick is on the trade block. Decent defenseman. Cannot go for him though. Oh, there's been a trade between the Flyers and the Waiters. Right, Jody Gage and Dave Gortz are going to the Waiters for Jody L and Russ McKay. Jody L is probably the best player in that trade. So the Flyers win this trade. We are 1 week away from the start of preseason. Buffalo wants to move Greg Adams, but that's the one that's not as good as the other one. So I will not go for him. The one in Vancouver I might think about getting. I need to improve my D, that's what I need. Alright, so we're about to start preseason, so I am going to go here, and recall all of those guys. Steve Richmond played some games for me last year, but now he's not as good anymore. Alright. Alright, that took forever, but everybody's on the team now in time for preseason, and now let's take a look at what's on the trading block. Ooh. Of course, most of those highly rated players are mine. Well, James Patrick is there, but I cannot go for him. I could go for Randy Gillen, I guess. What's on D that I could get? Randy Illier? Dear God. Not a whole lot. I might have to live with what I have. Sorry. Oh, you want for me to go for the LeBeau brothers, huh? Ooh, sorry about that. I'm a little sleepy. Yeah, there's not a whole lot. Oh, I could go after Doug Gilmour if he's not resigned. Really need help on Dito. And of course, there's not going to be... Oh, there's Al McInnes. Well, hopefully, Calgary doesn't resign him, and I am going to offer the moon to him. Now that I know better. Oh, that would be tough. It would be tough to make a challenge where you can only have related players on the same team. Alright, so nothing on the trading block that I am willing to go for. Oh, I have to set my captains, huh? Ugh, Mark Astley is out of shape. Is that how you thank me for giving you a contract at 20 years old? I gave you more money than you would have. Ugh. And Mark Fitzpatrick is also out of shape. And he responded poorly. I know, but then how are they gonna fight each other? Like, they always tell that story on telecast, or they used to when the Sutter brothers were still playing, that they would they would like fight each other, and their mom would throw fits over it. She would like get really mad, which is understandable, but anyway. Alright, so we're gonna go ahead and do the preseason here. That should be 7 games. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And we are hosting the Washington Capitals for the first one. We're gonna go ahead and take a look at their lineup, maybe. Alright, works now. Alright, so Capitals are gonna have Clint Malarchuk, Pete Peters, Rod Langway, Scott Stevens, Grant Ledyard, who ate too many hot dogs during summer. He's unfit. Dykstra, Atcher, Murphy, Felix Kogivo, Jeff Kortner, Lou Franceschetti, Dale Hunter, Miller, Inachak, Crom, Hunter, Nichols, Christian, Gustafsson, Miller, Leach, and Kelly Buckberger. Oh, Kelly Buckberger is now with the Capitals. Alright. See, Bernie Nichols is already starting to decline. He's a 4.5 star player anymore. He's not a 5-star player. No. They made it clear that it's not gonna happen too. Now, what did happen is that Ryan Kessler did fight Keith Tkachuk and Matthew Tkachuk. So Ryan Kessler was old enough that that when he started his career, Keith was still playing and he fought him, and then near the end of his career, he fought Matthew Tkachuk. All right, so let's go here. Alright, so we're going to go with Pete Peters in net for the Capitals. We're going to have Mark Fitzpatrick in net. First preseason game is a 7-1 win for the Kings. Look at that. In search of help on defense, and it doesn't show there. Shots were tied 32 apiece. Wayne Gretzky was the first star of the game. Small game for him, 3 goals and an assist. Mark Fitzpatrick was the second star of the game. He had 31 saves. And Luc Robitaille was the third star with 4 assists. 13,087 people in Inglewood at the Forum. So not a full crowd, but it is preseason, so let's not panic here. Wayne Gretzky opened up the scoring in the first. That was a power play goal from Gary Galley and Luc Robitaille, and it was a 1-0 lead. After one, there was a fight between who else? Marty McSorley and Dale Hunter getting into a scrap. Period number 2 saw Richie Dunn score a goal from Wayne Gretzky and Luc Robitaille, and then Chris Contos from Dan Gratton and Jim Fox. 3-0 Kings after 2. Then in the third period, Wayne Gretzky scored from Gary Galley and Luc Robitaille. Then Mike Krushelinski scored short-handed from Marty McSorley and Randy Ladouceur. It was 5-0. Then the Capitals scored, but then we scored 2 more goals. Bob Kudelski from Randy Wood and Jeff Smith, and Wayne Gretzky from Mike Gartner and Luc Robitaille. He completed his hat-trick with 1 minute and 31 seconds left to go into the third period. Alright, a bunch of stuff happened. Wayne Gretzky keeps fans on their feet all night. We saw that. A great night for Luc Robitaille. We also saw that. Pat Lafontaine has a memorable game. That's another player I wish I could get. I always liked Pat Lafontaine. He had 4 assists against the Bruins. Craig McTavish got hurt in Edmonton, probably because he wasn't wearing a helmet. Although back then, Meany didn't. Missed 3 months with a radial nerve compression. And Glenn Anderson in that same game had a strong game. He had 3 goals and an assist against the Quebec Nordics. And now we're going to be playing in Calgary. They re-signed Gary Suter. I was totally on board with trying to get him, but I had offered a contract offer to Ray Borg already. Alright, so Mike Vernon and Rick Wamsley in net, Jamie McCown, Brad McCrimmon, Dana Merzen, Gary Suter, Al McInnes, Rob Ramage, Rick Natras on D. That's a pretty strong D overall. And then up front they have Paul Ranheim, Gary Roberts, Jackson, Bergeron, Nieuwendyk, Joel Otto, Jim Piplinski, Doug Gilmore. That's Yuri Erdina, not Jan. Theo Fleury, Mark Hunter, Hakan Lube, Joe Mullen, and Jeff Parker. Alright, can we beat the Flames? Oh boy, probably not. We're going with a lot of scraps. A lot of half-star players here in the lineup for that game. Yikes. Well, go Kings. Maybe Gretzky can save it all. Glenn Healy's going to be in net for us. Rick Wamsley is going to be in net for the Flames. I'm totally expecting to get destroyed in this game. We lost, but not by as much as I thought. We lost 4-1, but we literally had Wayne Gretzky, Luc Robitaille, Glenn Healy, and Gord Dineen that are regulars. Everybody else was all of my guys that are going to be in the minors. So, yeah, we got destroyed in shots 64-23. Hakan Lube was the first star of the game. He had a goal and an assist. Rick Natras was the second star with an assist. And Yuri Erdina was the third star with an assist. We actually scored the first goal of the game. Eric German was the first to score, assisted by Wayne Gretzky and Gord Dineen. It was 1-0 Kings after 1. There was a fight between Gary Roberts and Larry Playfair, and then Gary Suter fought Eric Germain. Nobody scored in the second period. Wow, after 2 we were up 1-0, but yeah, the wall cracked, and we allowed 4 goals unanswered in the third period, and that was it. There was also a fight between Larry Playfair and Jim Piplinski in the third period. Yeah. Sylvain Couturier is injured. Well, oh, Gord Dineen is injured as well. Now that one stinks a little bit more because I don't have a whole lot of great options on the. And of course, Gord Dineen is hurt 1 to 2 weeks. Couturier is out day to day. We're gonna play out the preseason and see what happens. Great night for John Anderson. He had a hat trick against the Blues, and a Chris Contos trade might happen. We're playing the Flames again. That was a home and home against them. Now we're back at home playing them. We're having a little bit of a better lineup this time, but still, yeah, not on D. Darren Rumble's gonna play as a goon, and he's rated 1 for it. So go Darren Rumble. Is it because of his last name, like Royal Rumble? Maybe the coach is expecting for him to just go and, you know, bang. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I don't know why the coach is putting in a player with a 1 rating in something. Oh. Alright, the Flames are going to send Mike Vernon in for that one. We're going to go with Glenn Healy again. We won 5-2 despite all that. We outshot the Flames 37-33. Mike Gartner was the first star of the game. He had 5 assists. Mark Astley was the second star with a goal and an assist, and Wayne Gretzky was the third star with a goal and an assist. 12,827 people at home for this preseason game. Mike Ridley opened up the scoring in the first from Mike Gartner and Luc Robitaille, and then the Flames scored. It was tied at 1, and we had a fight between Marty McSorley and Gary Suter. Then Gerald Deduck fought Rob Ramage. Then in the second period, Marty McSorley scored from Mike Gartner and Mark Astley, and then Mark Astley scored on the power play from Wayne Gretzky and Mike Gartner 3-1 after 2. And there was a fight between Jim Fox and Al McInnes. Wow. Chris Conto scored in the third period. That was a power play goal from Wayne McBean and Mike Gartner. 4-1 Kings at that point. The Flames did score. And then Wayne Gretzky scored on a power play from Mike Gartner and Chris Contos. 5-2 the score. And that's the final score. We won this game. Alright, memorable game from Mike Gartner. As we saw, he had 5 assists. That was pretty cool. Star Steve Yzerman is day-to-day with a bruised hip. He's going to miss about a week. John Ogrodnik has a memorable game. He had 3 goals and an assist against the Bruins. And Wendell Clark also has a good game. 3 goals and an assist against the Oilers. Alright, we're going to be playing in New York against the Islanders. Still a preseason game. We're going to take a look at their roster. Oh, they do have Ken Leiter, that's hurt, not going to play that preseason game. So the Islanders have Kitty Rudy in net and Bob Mason. They also have Steve Duchesne that I traded to them in the trade. Yeah, I traded him and John Tonnelly for Gerald Deduck and Randy Wood. I know that I didn't get the upper hand in that. I just needed to get rid of them for something. Alright, so Steve Duchesne, Janssen, Conroy, Norton, Evans, Joe Rickey, Bob Beers on D. Not the greatest D, thankfully for them. I traded the Steve Duchesne to them. Gilbert, Henry, Lauer, McKella, Tonnelly, Leclerc, Basson, Elmanen, Lafontaine, Sutter, Trottier, Flatley, Kerr, and Volek up front, and I just realized I did not set my captains. Alright. So, oh, I guess it's 12. So if you're hearing a weird noise in the background, those are the tornado sirens that are going. There's not a tornado coming. Every Saturday they test them and they are running, so we're safe. Of course, if there's a tornado coming on a Saturday at 12, then, you know, sucks to be us, I guess. I think that's gonna be that. Alright, let's play that game for real now. Alright, Mark Fitzpatrick back in net for us. Bob Mason is gonna be in net for the Islanders. That's a 7-3 win for the LA Kings. We outshot the Islanders 65-36. Whoa, nobody played defense in that game. That's over 100 shots on goals total. Whoa. Wayne Gretzky was the first star of the game. He had 3 goals and an assist. Mike Ridley was the second star with 3 goals. And Luc Robitaille was the third star with 2 assists. I don't have to. I can draft literally anybody else. Or I could draft Alex Daigle and trade him right away, trade his rights while he still has some value to somebody else. I could always do that. No, not literally anyone else. But I could get Serge Aubin instead. Probably not the right draft. No, Serge Aubin was a little bit later. Alright, so 7-3 win over the Islanders in New York. Gerald Deduck opened up the scoring in the first from Luc Robitaille and Wayne Gretzky. Then Mike Ridley scored from Jim Fox and Mike Krushelensky. 2-0 lead for the Kings after one. We had a fight between Alan Kerr and Marty McSorley. Then Dale Henry fought John Miner. And in the second period, the Islanders scored. It was 2-1 at that point, but Mike Ridley scored from Jeff Smith and Scott Arniel. 3-1 Kings here after two. Some more face punching in the second period. Brian Trothier and Marty McSorley. Then Dave Volek and John Miner. And then in the third period, Mike Ridley completed his hat-trick from Marty McSorley and Jim Fox. And then Wayne Gretzky scored his fifth of the preseason from Gary Galley and John Miner. 5-1 Kings at that point. Islanders scored, and then Gretzky completed his hat-trick with 2 goals. First one from Mike Gartner and Luc Robitaille, and the other one from Mike Gartner and John Miner. 7-2 the score. Then the Islanders scored with 22 seconds left to go in the game. That was 7-3 at that point. Some more fighting. Pat Lafontaine actually fought John Miner. John Miner fighting for the third time in that game. Then Dave Volek fought Marty McSorley, and that was enough fighting at that point. Yeah, if he's in the draft, I could. Gordy Hunt, never even heard of the guy. Alright, Wayne Gretzky had a memorable game, 3 goals and an assist, and then Ridley had a great game as well, 3 goals and no assists for him, so pretty good. We have a day off, and then we are going to play the Nordics. Let's take a look to see if the Nordics are going to be a little bit more competitive this year. Boy, oh boy, it's going to be tough in net for them. So they have, oh boy, Mario Gosselin and Mario Brunetta as the goaltenders. I remember Brunetta. Yep. Didn't play for long. We totally could get him as our starting goaltender when we do the less than 250 games challenge. Mario Brunetta is going to lead us to the Stanley Cup. Yeah. Yeah, you're really looking at finding me some gems, aren't you? Alright, Tommy Albeline, Stephen Finn, Robert Picard, Randy Gregg, Bruce Bell, Jeff Brown, Randy Velicek on D. Then up front they have Gaetan Duchesne, Michel Goulet-Maikov, Walt Podobny, Charlie Simmer, Anton Stachny, Paul Gillis, Joe Sakic, Peter Stachny, Doug Wickenheiser, Dusan Pashek, Queenie Vermette, and Lane Lambert. Poor Gordy Hunt. He doesn't even have a Wikipedia page. I don't either. At least I don't think I do. I'm not vain or narcissistic enough to go and check to see if somebody created a Wikipedia page for me. Hey man, there's people that never get drafted like Martin St. Louis, you know. So you tell me who's the better guy, the guy that actually got drafted. I think he should have a Wikipedia page. Martin St. Louis never got drafted. Probably doesn't deserve a Wikipedia page. Oh, something I could look at. Something I could look at. Look at that. All right, so there's some unrestricted free agents that I can go for. I could get Bobby Gould if I wanted to. Not a whole lot. You just never got a chance. You're as tall as Martin St. Louis. Yeah, I'm taller than that, but by NHL standards nowadays, I'm considered small. I'm 5'10". Oh dear God, we know nothing about this guy. Yeah, I can't get... Well, that's good to know that there's some unrestricted free agents in there. Sadly, no defenseman that I can get. Oh yeah. You know it. Oh, that's true. You're still pretty young, so you would be, yeah, you would be scoring 100 points just for fun. Alright, playing the Nordics after we looked at their lineup and that I was like, oh, I'm gonna go check the unrestricted free agents to see if the draft picks, the guys that weren't drafted are in there, and that I could maybe pad my guys a little bit, but no. Alright, so Mario Gosselin is gonna be in net, Glenn Ely is gonna be in net for us, and it's a 7-2 win over the Nordics. Man, it feels like you've been 20 the entire time I've known you. When is your birthday? It has to be coming soon. I mean, I've been talking to you for almost a year now. Oh dang, when I started to talk to you, you had just turned 20. Alright, so 7-2 win over the Nordiques. 51-32 the shots in our favor. Mike Gartner, another great game. 3 goals and an assist. First star. Luc Robitaille, second star with a goal and an assist. And Wayne Gretzky, the third star with 2 goals and an assist. A name that I'm not seeing a lot and I don't like it is Ray Shepherd. I need for him to be able to produce a little bit more here. Alright, so the Nordics scored first in the first period, then we scored 3 unanswered. Mike Gartner scored unassisted, then he scored again from Wayne McBean and Luc Robitaille. Then Luc Robitaille scored from Scott Arniel. 3-1 Kings after 1. Then in the second period, Wayne Gretzky scored on the power play from Mike Gartner and Chris Contos, made it 5-1. Then Chris Contos scored from Ray Shepherd and Dan Gratton, 5-1 the score at that point. The Nordics scored... but then 1 second before the end of the period, Wayne Gretzky scored on the power play unassisted. It was 6-2 at that point. We added 1 more goal in the third period. Mike Gartner completed his hat-trick on the power play from Richie Dunn and Wayne Gretzky, 7-2 the final score. We also had a Gerald Deduck and Mark Vermette fight to spice things up. That's funny, man. Your birthday is on the same day as one of my best friends in Canada. So now when I'm going to be thinking about him and messaging him on Facebook to wish him a happy birthday, now I'm going to get to think about you. Dan Gratton got hurt in this game. And so did Mike Gartner. But it's all day-to-day injuries, so hopefully it's all going to be good before the start of the season. Alright, Gartner hurt. He still had 3 goals and an assist. Good night for Dale Howardchuk with the Jets. 4 goals and an assist against the Flyers. Then Sylvain Couturier is feeling better. Good for him. Now we are going to play in Minnesota, so we are almost done with the preseason. Only 2 games left. Let's take a look at the North Stars. Come on, you already know the answer to that. At least for the hockey team, you have to know. I mean, I'm wearing the shirt even, you know. So, yeah. And baseball, obviously the Yankees, although I'm not too fond of the Astros with the cheating and everything. Alright, so the North Stars have Doug Keens and Carrie Taco in net, Sean Chambers, Mark Hardy, Jacobson, Mo Manta, Frank Musil, Bob Rouse, Brian Bellows, De Palma, LeBlanc, McClellan, Martin, Brook, Broughton, Gagne, Walter, Cox, Bustad, Brown, Cicerelli, Gavin, and Leach. Oh shit, the Yankees. The Yankees, not even close. Which NHL team do you hate the most? And I know you hate the Yankees the most in the MLB, so which team would you rather play for? Alright, so we're going to play in Minnesota now. Mark Fitzpatrick is going to be in net for us. Doug Keens is going to be in net for the North Stars. Oof, we lost 8-5. Alright, so we outshot Minnesota 47-37, but we lost 8-5. Oh, so you hate the Bruins the most. Which would make sense as an Abs fan, of course. Yeah, watching golf is not very fun. Now, playing golf, sure. Watching golf, Alright, so Neil Broughton first star of the game, 3 goals and an assist. Sean Chambers was the second star with 2 assists, and Zino Cicerelli was the third star with 2 goals and an assist. Mike Gartner opened up the scoring in the first. It was a power play goal from Gary Galley and Wayne Gretzky. Then the North Stars scored. Then Randy Wood scored a power play goal from Jim Fox and Mike Ridley. And then the North Stars tied the game, and it was a 2-2 game after one. There were like 1 million penalty minutes in the first period. It's only a slight exaggeration. So Larry De Palma fought Randy Ladouceur. John LeBlanc fought Marty McSorley. Alright. Oh, and wait. No, okay. Whew. Got confused for a second. Very close between the Bruins and the Leafs. Yeah, true Abs fan. Alright, so Luc Robitaille scored in the second period on the power play from Jim Fox and Gary Galley. Then Mike Krushelinski scored from Marty McSorley and Randy Ladouceur. 4-2 for the Kings at that point. Then the North Stars scored. It was 4-3. Then Ray Shepard finally scored a goal from Randy Ladouceur and Mike Krushelinski. It was 5-3. And then the North Stars scored 2 goals. It was tied at 5 after 2. A lot of action as far as penalties go in the second period as well. Dave Gagne fought Ken Baumgartner, and then Larry De Palma got in a scrap with John Miner. And then the North Stars scored 3 unanswered goals in the third period. They won that 8-5. And another fight between Frank Musil and Gary Galley, and that was it. Lots of action in that game. Randy Ladouceur got hurt. Hopefully it's not for long. I don't have a lot of spare demon. Day-to-day, alright, that's a lot of day-to-day stuff, but hopefully we're gonna be okay. Alright, good game for Neil Broughton. He had 3 goals and an assist, as we saw. Anu Yarvenpa in Winnipeg had 4 assists. That's also pretty good. Alright, so we sold 11,203 season tickets for the coming season. That would be nice if those were in order of most sold and not in alphabetical order. I want to see who sold the most. The Red Wings by far. So the Red Wings sold the most season tickets, 15,250. Let's see. hockey, if I can choose the era, I would play for the Whalers. I always love the Hartford Whalers. Always like their uniforms, their logo, and everything. So that would be for the Whalers. In baseball, oh man, that's a tough one. Probably for the Blue Jays. Although I would also consider the Padres. And probably I would also probably consider the Reds. But I probably would go with the Blue Jays. I don't have an animosity with the Blue Jays. The Expos back then wouldn't play the Blue Jays in interleague or anything like that when I was really following baseball, so there wasn't a rivalry of that sort. Alright, scouting, don't care. Sylvain Couturier ahead of schedule. That's great for him, I suppose. Aaron Broughton is going to more than likely be moved by the Devils. The A's. Of course, Aaron Broughton, the best Broughton brother. We just played his brother. Alright, so last preseason game is going to be against the Blackhawks. Alright, so let's see what they have here. Only a minor injury to Trent Yannick. Other than that, they have Ed Belfour in net, not fully developed. He's only a one-star goaltender. And then Chris Clifford, Dave Manson, Gary Nylund. Oh, Dave Manson, the brutal guy. Not a soft player by any means. Alright, Dave Manson, Gary Nylund, Wilson, Brown, Murray, Shaw, Yanni on D, then Everett, Sanipass, Thomas Eagles, Murray, Ronick, Savard, Ludzik, Graham, Jensen, Larmer, Presley, McKenna, Sutter, and Noonan. Yeah, Chris Jensen. He had a short career. Totally could have him on our team for the next challenge of under 250 games played. All right, that's a winnable game, so hopefully we do just that. So Ed Belfour in net for the Hawks. We're gonna go with Mark Fitzpatrick. And we won 3-2, so close game, but we did win. 39-29, the shots in our favor in that one. Wayne Gretzky was the first star of the game. He had a goal and an assist. Doug Wilson was the second star with a goal, and Ray Shepherd was the third star with a goal as well. Alright, Steve Ludzik opened up the scoring for the Blackhawks in the first period, and it was 1-0 Chicago after 1. There was a fight between Marty McSorley and Everett Sanipass. Then in the second period, Mike Gartner scored his 5th of the preseason from Jeff Smith and Scott Arniel. Then Ray Shepherd scored on a power play from Wayne Gretzky and John Miner. 2-1 Kings after 2. Yep, slow night for Gretzky, only 2 points. He probably didn't go all with all of his strength since it was a preseason game. Alright, and then there was a fight between John Miner and Wayne Presley in the second period. And then the Blackhawks tied the game in the third period, and then late in the third, Wayne Gretzky scored his 10th of the preseason from Richie Dunn and Luc Robitaille. It was a 3-2 lead, and that stuck. We won. There was also a fight between Marty McSorley and Wayne Presley. And that was that. That was our preseason right there. Excellent passing leads to productive night for Dave Hannon, who had 4 assists against the Nordics. Alright, Gretzky, Robitaille, Gartner, Ely, and McSorley are the most sold jerseys for us, and then we're nowhere in the top 20 in the league. I'm still trying to spot Brian Hayward. Yeah, he didn't play in Ronan's office. You're right, Ed Ronan's office. I think it's kind of rude of Gretzky to kind of have renamed that. Like, everybody calls it Gretzky's office, but really it was Ed Ronan's. I think it's a little rude of Wayne to have done that. Or to have let it happen. I don't think that Wayne Gretzky necessarily called that the Gretzky's office. I think it came from probably the media or, you know, people surrounding hockey. But I think it's kind of rude for Wayne to have let that happen. I know for 1 month in the previous season, the number 1 was Brian Hayward. Sold more jerseys than Wayne Gretzky. I like that they added that, but it doesn't look like it's working great. Look at all those day-to-day injuries that I have. Alright, so the regular season starts in 4 days. I need healthy bodies here. Alright, so Sylvain Couturier feeling better, Gordon feeling better, Mike Gartner is completely recovered, that was probably the big one, and Dan Gratton feeling better, that's good. Yeah, but that's alternate reality, man. My game doesn't know that. Unless you have infiltrated my computer and act by game. Alright, Couturier is fully recovered. Don't really care though. Dan Gratton bordering on returning. Oh, today I have to submit my protection list. Alright. I think it's funny that I only have Wayne Gretzky on my list right now. It's like Wayne Gretzky's gonna get protected. Fuck everybody else. Alright, let's ask the assistant and go from there. That's usually what I do. Alright, so yeah, I'm going to what the no. It's trying to protect players that I still have the rights to, but I don't want on my team. Alright, so now I can protect 2 more. It's going to be Randy Ladouceur and Gordonine, more than likely. Yep. If people want to go for those guys. Oh, Paul Gay. Maybe I want to keep him. Okay, I might lose Paul Gay. Maybe. I don't really want to keep Richie Dunn. Kind of have to, though. Alright, that's gonna be my protection list. André Resico winning the Vizina. Yeah, that would be pretty interesting. You know that André Resico, when he was playing for Montreal, was called Red Light Resico for a reason, right? Gordonine feeling better. Dan Gratton feeling better. And the 1989 NHL season preview. With the National Hockey League season about to get underway, the early Stanley Cup favorites appear to be Calgary, led by center Doug Gilmour. General manager Cliff Fletcher has built a squad that will be the team to beat this year, but he can expect challenges from Glenn Sather's Edmonton Oilers and Pittsburgh, featuring center Mario Lemieux. Among the dark horses, Montreal stands out as a possible challenger with a big season by Chris Chelios, capable of pushing them into contender status. The scoring race will likely see Los Angeles' Wayne Gretzky challenged by Mario Lemieux of Pittsburgh and Detroit's Steve Yzerman. Top defenseman in the league is generally considered to be Pittsburgh Penguins' blue liner Paul Coffey, with Boston's Ray Bourque and Chris Chelios of Montreal also in the running. Finally, among goaltenders, Edmonton's Bill Ranford stands out as the league's best, while Montreal Canadiens netminder Patrick Roy and John Casey of Toronto can also steal games for their teams. Alright, let's do the waiver draft, and then I think I'm gonna stop here after that. Alright. Let's do pick until human, and then we'll take it from there. Alright, so Frank Pietrangelo was picked by the Canucks, Daniel Berthiaume by the Nordics, Tim Waters by the Blues, Mark Laforêt by the Islanders, Jeff Jackson by the Leafs, Todd Elick by the Devils, Paul Gay, yeah, I did lose Paul Gay after all, picked up by the Bruins, Pat Conacher, picked up by the North Stars, Phil Sykes by the Sabres, Frank Caprice by the Jets, Doug Evans by the Red Wings, Sean McKenna by the Blackhawks, Rudy Postcheck by the Hartford Whalers, Paul Fenton by the Rangers, Steve Ludzik by the Oilers, Peter Taglianizzi by the Capitals, and Dean Kennedy by the Pittsburgh Penguins. It's our turn. Oh boy, I could get Kevin Guy or Vincent Riendo, or go with a guy that's maybe a little bit younger, Robert Dirk maybe, Ken Sabourin. Not a whole lot of choices. I mean, I need help on D, right? So maybe I need to look at this guy. Those ratings are gonna go down because those are compared to he's still probably my best shot. I mean, I don't want Vincent Riendo. Oh, Kevin Guy did play for a little bit. He's gonna retire soon, but he could be a call-up for when I have injuries. I think I'm gonna have to go with this guy. I am picking Kevin Guy. There we go. Right. Gordonine is primed to return, and Randy Ladouceur should be back soon as well. Alright, I'm going to stop here. It's been over 2 hours. I think I'm ready to have lunch now. So I'm going to go ahead and save all of this. And next time out, we're going to go ahead and try and win the cup. Or at least we're going to try to have a winning month of October. Alright, folks, and mostly FJ, who's been keeping me company for almost 2 hours. Maybe you need to go and do something productive with your day, says the guy that just played a video game for over 2 hours. But anyway, I'm stopping here for today. Thank you for tuning in. If you're watching that on YouTube and you surprisingly made it that far, please feel free to like, subscribe, share, comment if you've liked the video. Until I roll this game again, I'll see you folks next time. Thank you.